I recently did a video about a guy named Mar Emmanuel. Mar Emmanuel is an Iranian, Australian, Assyrian Orthodox Christian priest or whatever. The guy is really something. I called him the Psychedelic Priest or Bishop because his videos are a real trip. I mean, he will just talk in a completely dark room, usually responding to some TikTok crazy person or trans person or queer person with this wild music playing in the background, the whole thing echoing. It is a truly wild ride, this guy. And it turns out, yesterday, this guy himself had something of a wild ride. I must note that any information received this early is likely to be tentative or even wrong. So I just want to say, don't believe anything that I am about to say except for just recounting the event itself. If you don't want to watch that footage, I don't blame you. It is indeed very disturbing footage. In that video, Mar Emmanuel is giving a speech, a little talk, and this guy comes up and just starts wailing on him with a knife. And it's not good. It's not good. The first one seems to hit in the face, and then the guy just wails on him all the way down to the ground. Now, here's where it gets a little bit speculative, and I figure, hey, maybe I should mention it before you go to Twitter and see this yourself. And just in the name of fairness, it did sound to me like the attacker was yelling Allahu Ackbar. You know that people are going to seize on this if it's true, and understandably so. Now, I can't confirm that's what the guy was saying, but it did sound like that to me. If you watch the video, if you have a strong enough constitution to handle a video of this nature, then give me your thoughts on it. I don't know what to say about something like that. Do I hope I'm wrong? Well, certainly, because this will definitely only serve to inflame tensions between communities at a very intense time for all of us. I mean, think about what just happened in Israel with Iran and what's been happening in Gaza. And now we're just adding more bloodshed into the mix. I don't think this can end well for anybody, so I want to think that this was just a random, delusional person attacking somebody that they've gotten obsessed with or something like that. But, again, in fairness, I kind of have to mention some other things. This next video is one you will see if you go looking for Mar Emmanuel on Twitter. It is of people outside chanting, bring him out. Now, I don't know who they're wanting them to bring out, the assailant, the bishop himself, I don't know. But this is indeed the area around the church. I confirmed that much with Google Maps. So let's watch this, and you get an idea for just how tense things are after this happened, and understandably so, of course. At risk of stating the obvious, that is a lot of people. There are other videos, but I'm not going to show them. They include the suspect being held on the ground, Mar Emmanuel being taken away on a stretcher. There were apparently other people injured, one of them seriously or even critically. It's not a good time over at Mar Emmanuel's church, and one has to wonder exactly what the reason for this would be, especially if it is a Muslim behind this attack. If the Allahu Ackbar thing is what I heard and what he said, then you got to wonder what's up with that exactly, because Mar Emmanuel has been pro-Palestine. Not that that is like the be-all, end-all, but it certainly makes him more friendly to, I would suppose, Muslims in general than a lot of priests or bishops or preachers who would just be like totally against Gaza and Palestine in this conflict. Now, Mar Emmanuel, in fairness, to be fair, he has had some words for Islam. He's had a lot of words for Islam, and I imagine that could have been a trigger. Again, assuming the guy really was Muslim, we don't know for sure. It's just assumptions at this point. The whole thing is just very hard to interpret. People always want to blame Muslims, so it may not be, but just considering what I heard, I wasn't looking to hear Allahu Akbar. I hadn't seen any posts saying, the guy is saying Allahu Akbar. I didn't hear that. I didn't see that. I looked at the video, and during the video, I was like, did that guy say Allahu Akbar? And so I went back, and it sounded like he said it. Yeah, more than once. So hopefully, I'm mistaken. But the cat's out of the bag in a sense, because even if I am mistaken, even if I and the other people who think we heard that, even if we're all wrong, which is very possible, very plausible, there are still going to be people, the obvious suspects, the usual suspects, who just refuse to believe they're wrong. So I would say, until all of this is confirmed, let us keep a very open mind as to who the suspect was and what his motivations were. I think in situations like this, we very often jump the gun. The raw facts, as it were, are this. Marmari Emmanuel is something of a hate preacher. He doesn't like the LGBT community. He'll say dehumanizing things about us. He does not like Western culture, liberalism, stuff of that sort. He's a very conservative guy, as you would expect from an Iranian, Australian, Assyrian priest. So we know, like, he himself, not the best guy ever. It's easy to see, like, a lot of people could have grievances against him. But let's also try to remember that beyond all the hate and the bigotry, there is still a human there. And I don't think anything he said is worth being stabbed. Regardless of the reason, I don't think any words this man had are bad enough to require such an action. I think this is one area where we in the West have sometimes failed in recent years by not denouncing this sort of thing. And I don't mean everybody. I just mean, like, in my super left-wing sorts of communities that I just came out of, it's rare to see denunciations of attacks like this, let's say based on religion. Let's say the Islamic attacks on Charlie Hebdo or whatever. I think it's very rare in my communities that I come from to see that sort of thing called out. And if this is one of those events, I think we should call stuff like that out, because it's wrong to do harm to people for the things they say. Marmari Emmanuel is a bad guy. That's pretty obvious, pretty apparent. But him being a bad guy does not make us or anyone else judge, jury, and executioner of this man, and I would not think anybody would agree with that. So that's my little thought set there. This video isn't intended to be an extensive thing because we don't have a lot of information right now. I just wanted to get there as quickly as possible because I know the fear merchants will be out there, the usual right-wing, conspiracy theorists who are always making stuff up, making up reasons, all that. I wanted to get there before they did, and also be as transparent as possible about what people think is going on, what it sounded like to me. It's a very tense situation, and gotta be sensitive to it. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen now. I mean, I think some people have said the knife, I guess, may have been a switchblade or something. It didn't function properly, so maybe it didn't get him, like, very well. We can hope for that. Maybe he'll be fine. Who knows? But even in situations where people aren't exactly fine, they do survive. So I think we should all hope for the survival of Marmari Emmanuel, because as bad as he is, I think it's much worse to see people just go through something like this for having bad opinions or being bad people. I think I've said enough. Hopefully, this isn't the least tasteful thing you'll ever see. You just don't know what to say about stuff like this all the time, because, like, it is serious. I mean, I don't like the guy. I think he's terrible, but I don't like this either. You can dislike a lot of things at once, so I'm going to dislike everything here at once. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. If you're in Australia, please be careful. It's obviously a very tense time right now. That may sound ironic coming from an American, but just take it for what it is. As for Marmari Emmanuel, well, good luck to him. I hope he comes back alive, obviously, a more empathetic person towards people who are very different than him. I hope that the other people who were injured survive and aren't too traumatized from this whole thing. And, I just hope for the best. What more can you do, really? You just gotta hope for the best. I don't want to see anybody hurt.